what happens when you combine the best gun depression of tier 10, excellent turret armor, good mobility, and a gun that doesn't even experience premium round damage drop-off? Well, then you get the STB-1. Should you get this vehicle? Should you not get this vehicle? What is it good at? What is it bad at? That is what we're going to find out in this video. Now, the main reason to get the STB is obviously the STB itself, because it does have best-in-class gun depression. It does have a very good gun. It also has excellent turret armor, but more on that later. It also has not the best of accuracies. That's kind of the one big weakness of this vehicle. The dispersion's kind of shite at 0.32 for a medium tank. Battle weight ratio is 22. And then, well, the armor. Look at that. Very good turret armor. Obviously, the cupola on top is a weak spot. And those tiny little side plates below the gun are also weak spots. So you don't want to expose those. You want to keep the vehicle moving back and forth. Ideally, keep it in a hull-down position just like that. Because then your cupola is barely visible. And it's going to be pretty much impossible for the enemy to penetrate you. Just like that. The CS-63 already failed. The VZ failed. They're all going to fail to penetrate this vehicle. All while you're going to be able to very easily get shots on target with your insane 11 degrees of gun depression. It is just absolutely superb at this exact role. Now you might ask yourselves, there are other tanks that can do this, like for example the M48 Patton, or the E50M can sort of do it as well, even though it only has 8 degrees of gun depression. Or also the AMX-30B, with its only 1 degree less gun depression than the STB-1. Well, the thing is, the AMX-30B, it doesn't have nearly as much armor as the STB-1, because just look at that. Just look at that. I mean, the 30B has a massive cupola on top of the turret. Like, they can't stop bouncing, can they? They just keep bouncing. The MX-30B has a absolutely massive cupola on top of the vehicle that even if you wiggle the tank back and forth, is still quite easy to hit. So it has a massive disadvantage there. Similarly, the M48 Patton, it's a bit slower. Doesn't quite have 11 degrees of gun depression, but it is a solid vehicle overall. So, why this one? Why exactly this one? Well, because overall the package that this vehicle offers is the best at what it does, right? There is no better gun depression, hull down, medium tank at tier 10 than the STB-1. There is nobody that can do it just like this vehicle. The M48 Patton, it's overall mediocre. It's sort of okay at everything, but not great at anything. The STB's absolute specialty is that hull down gun depression playstyle. And it also has the nice bonus of its premium round still almost doing the same damage as its standard round, 320 instead of 330, so that's a nice bonus there as well. However, now we're going to have to start talking about why you might not want to get the STB-1, and first and foremost, the Type 61 and the STA-1. While they do both have 10 degrees of gun depression, they have nowhere near the turret armor of the STB, so you have to play them quite a bit differently. Especially the STA-1 with its average, boring tier 8 medium tank gun, which is basically just a less alpha damage, slightly higher DPM version of a heavy tank gun. The tier 8 mediums are not having a good time, especially the tech tree ones. So you have a vehicle there that has essentially no turret armor, that is very difficult to play, that can't do just that, what the STB can, so you're going to have to grind the vehicles that essentially don't play anything like the tier 10, which makes it very, very hard for a new player to get through. So I do not recommend trying to get the STB-1 if you're new to the game. This is sort of like your 8th, 9th, maybe 10th tier 10. Once you're starting to get into the groove, once you know what's going on, then you get the STB-1. Well, maybe it could even be your 6th tier 10, but that's a spoiler, I guess, for another time. Or maybe not. But the thing is, if you're a new player, stay away from this vehicle, and also ideally stay away from this kind of playstyle as well, because it does take quite a bit to pull it off. It's a lot easier to get yourself an E100 or a 60p to start off the game with. But once you got the experience, once you're decent, and once you have, well, gained enough happiness in your life, then you can eventually embark on the journey that goes yourself through the STA-1 and the Type 61, because those two vehicles will be certainly draining your happiness all the way out of you, and then only once you spend your 6.1 million credits on the STB-1 and everything extra for the equipment, you will regain that happiness that you've just lost having to play the Type 61 and the STA-1. Those two vehicles truly are a pain. Now, That is, in a way, also true for the M48 pattern, given that the M46 pattern is a bit questionable at best, and for the E50M. The E50 is also quite questionable. But, for example, the Pershing is a very decent, solid vehicle that is doing its job well. And the E50, while not amazing, it does its job. It's okay. Whereas both of the Japanese, well, want to make you seppuku yourself. Probably. So, you're gonna know it. You have to be aware. Are you in for a challenge? If a challenge is what you want, then a challenge is what you will get with those two vehicles. But then, once you've progressed through that pain, through that suffering, up to the STB-1, you can yourself be seen farming a AFK ICE 8. Because remember, someone's at AFK, they might not be AFK soon. So if you can shoot them, just shoot them. Because why not? And a position like this is just perfect. The last game from a very lovely username. If you didn't read his username, I highly recommend going back and reading it, if you haven't already. But a game like that, or a game like this, just playing around these ridgelines, play in the middle, and now a little peaking a bit too far there, but obviously the E100 can't turn enough. But look at that 11 degrees of gun depression. There is absolutely nothing the E100 can do. Then again, he also doesn't have a camo, so he's probably not going to do much anyway. But look at that. You can perfectly play ridgelines like this in no other tank. And that is just what makes the STB-1 so absolutely amazing. But obviously, if that ridgeline playstyle is not the one for you, then you're going to have quite a bit of trouble getting the best out of this vehicle. And you're also going to have a bit of trouble when a guy like that WZ114 decides to, listen, I don't want you to sit on a ridgeline, I'm going to go straight at your face, because then you're going to start to have a bit of a problem. It is not really that good at brawling. It's quite a long vehicle, so it's impossible to get around it. However, in a brawling situation like that, it's very easy to shoot down into the front plate or to shoot up into the cupola. So in that regard, do not get yourself into a brawl situation like ever. Keep your distance. It's not as fragile as a Leopard 1. Also, you cannot shoot through that. I didn't even see that when I recorded the replay. You can't shoot through the damn plane, mate. But yeah, it is nowhere near as fragile as the Leopard 1. Doesn't have quite the amazing gun of the Leopard 1 either. But this is the best hull-down tank, at least medium tank, at tier 10. And I can highly recommend getting it if you can get yourself through the Type and the STA.